This is why I'm speaking to you tonight, to urge you to tell your senators and congressmen that you know we must continue to restore our fiscal strength, and we must do it together. If we stop in midstream, we will send a signal of decline, of lessened will to friends and adversaries alike. Free and caring people must voluntarily, through open debate and democratic means, meet the challenges that the legal but irresponsible excesses of a relative few have forced upon us all. It's up to us in our time to choose, and choose wisely, between the hard but necessary task of preserving prosperity for our posterity and the temptation to ignore our duty and blindly hope for the best while the burdens of debt and deficit grow heavier day by day. The solution is well within our grasp, but to reach it there is simply no alternative but to begin with a budget that will provide the resources we need to lift the least successful among us out of unemployment and give them another chance to redeem their golden ticket of American citizenship, which has given us all a huge head start up the ladder of success compared to anywhere else in the world. We all should thank God for being Americans, whether we received our birthright to a better financial future as a byproduct of our forefathers' sacrifices that allowed us to be born in America, or through our efforts to immigrate to America, which remains the one best way available on the planet to improve our own and our children's right to a life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Now, thus far tonight, I have shared with you my thoughts on the problems of fiscal security we must face together. My predecessors in the Oval Office have appeared before you on other occasions to describe the threat posed by the debt, and have proposed steps to address that threat. But since the advent of these recent financial crises, the steps we've taken together have not been sufficient to get America growing again at a rate that will lead to full employment, balanced budgets, and a repayment of our debt. In recent months, however, my advisors, including in particular the Secretary of Treasury and the leaders of both houses of Congress, have underscored the necessity to break out of a future that relies solely on more spending, more taxes, and more debt for our current needs for both defense and entitlements. Over the course of these discussions, I have become more and more deeply convinced that the human spirit must be capable of rising above dealing with our fellow citizens by threatening their freedom both to pursue whatever employment they wish and to retain the vast majority of the fruits of their labors. Feeling this way, I believe we must thoroughly examine every opportunity for reducing our deficit and for introducing greater interactions across the growing financial gulf that divides the very rich from the very poor. One of the most important contributions we can make is, of course, to lower the level of unemployment. Let me say that I am totally committed to this course. To reduce unemployment quickly, we must make it much safer for any business to decide to hire those extra workers that will only truly be needed when the economy takes off again. One way to do this is to partially reimburse employers for any net new unemployed people they hire before the economy takes off. However, where will the funds for these reimbursements come from when we don't want to increase spending through higher taxes or more borrowing? Although this may seem like an impossible problem to solve, I believe there are some funds available that we can use to jumpstart our path to full employment, which neither increase our debt nor force our citizens to pay more in taxes. For example, if the majority of the very rich were to voluntarily join with us in our effort to achieve full employment in a short period of time, we would have the funds to succeed in stabilizing our financial future. For those of you millionaires and billionaires who don't wish to voluntarily write an additional check in the next month to help America get moving again, I would ask this question: what are you willing to do to thank America and your fellow citizens for all they've done for you? Perhaps you can simply invest in a new people-intensive startup that will instantly soak up the untapped potential of hundreds of thousands of unemployed workers. Or perhaps you can invest your time, talents, and treasure to ensure that today's unemployed can be tomorrow's wage-earning taxpayers who will have the ability to directly repay any assistance that you've given them in the form of a reemployment loan. Or perhaps you can loan money to the 15 million illegal aliens who would be willing to purchase their rights to become American citizens for $100,000 if only someone were willing to give them a 30-year low-interest loan that could be repaid with wage garnishments from their hard work, and which was secured by their freedom from deportation and the promise of full amnesty upon repayment. Or perhaps you can convince 15 million of the best and brightest foreigners that you're employing elsewhere in the world to each pay $100,000 to purchase their golden ticket to America. We all know that Lady Liberty still welcomes the world as a new colossus. "Keep, ancient lands, your storied pomp," cries she. "With silent lips, give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free, the wretched refuse of your teeming shore. Send these, the homeless, tempest-tossed, to me. I lift my lamp beside the golden door." However, in tough fiscal times, we might also want to entice the foreign nationals who are computer scientists, doctors, nurses, employers, and entrepreneurs, who can live anywhere they like, but who choose to come to America because it is the best place to ensure that their children are able to blaze their own trail of success in any field they choose, and who will have a chance to retain the money that their parents have earned for them. There is clearly room in America for 15 million new startup specialists who either already have the personal wealth to pay the $100,000 for their golden ticket, or who will earn it by hiring at least 10 unemployed Americans during their first year here. The bottom line is that the old approach of yet another one-time contribution to simply extend unemployment benefits for those most in need is not a cure for our fiscal disease, but simply an expensive and temporary drug that takes away some of the pain of lost wages, but creates a drag on our future growth. So the source of the time, talent, and treasures needed to get to full employment can't come from the usual suspects. In any case, wouldn't it be better to have people work for a living than to stand and wait in line for a handout? Doesn't it make sense to have the business leaders who spent their lives making the rich richer use those same skills to meet the much harder challenge of making the poor prosper? Are we not capable of demonstrating our goodwill by applying all our abilities and our ingenuity to achieving a truly lasting stability? I think we are. Indeed, we must. Those who choose to cross the financial divide and not just talk about how a man should learn to fish, but offer to finance the purchase of a fishing pole and provide access to a free-flowing stream, are going to be the heroes of the next generation will revere. Our founding fathers were amongst the most well-to-do in the country, with the most to lose, and yet, to create a new nation with freedom and justice for all, they rebelled against tyranny and in support of a Declaration of Independence. With a firm reliance on the protection of divine providence, they mutually pledged to each other their lives, their fortunes, and their sacred honor to create this country. And so, for today's most well-to-do, now is your time to create a nation that declares its independence from the tyranny of excessive debt and lost hope. Our forefathers are in the stands watching how you handle your call to duty, and will be witnesses to how you answer this question: what are you willing to risk to ensure that the blessings of liberty, including the freedom from financial fears and a fiscal house that is in order, are passed on to all Americans? After careful consultation with my advisors, including the leaders of both parties, I believe there is a way. Let me share with you a vision of the future which offers hope. It is that we embark on a program not just to lower unemployment, but to reach full employment via a system of financial rewards for those who contribute the most to this cause. We've seen the power of X Prizes to lift rockets into space, and I believe the same type of game mechanics can be used to lift those willing to rise again from the hole in which they find themselves to higher and higher heights. Let us turn to the very strengths in technology that spawned our greatest successes, and the power of social networks that have given us the quality of life we enjoy today, to create a new and cost-effective way to win the future. Just imagine if free people could live secure in the knowledge that their financial security did not rely upon the altruistic instincts of their fellow citizens, but in universal access to high-quality private sector jobs, offering a form of self-worth and dignity that can only come from a hard day's work for an honest wage. With a system that replaced unemployment with instantaneous retraining and non-profit internships, or reemployment subsidized by a loan secured by the person's future earnings, we could intercept and overcome the fear that comes from long-term unemployment, because the unemployed wouldn't have time to lose hope. And hope is an essential ingredient when you've had to watch the things you gave your life to broken, and stoop and build them up with worn-out tools. I know this is a formidable social networking and organizational task, one that may not be accomplished before the end of the year. Yet current technology has attained a level of sophistication where it is reasonable for us to believe that this effort will work. We also have a significant number of retired military personnel who know what it takes to make sacrifices to mobilize the masses to fight injustice, and cadres of former teachers, preachers, and professors who understand how to efficiently impart both wisdom and motivation. It may take months and perhaps years of effort on many fronts to get to full employment. There will be failures and setbacks, just as there will be successes and breakthroughs. And as we proceed, we must remain constant in preserving the safety net that prevents desperate acts and maintaining a solid capability for the creative thoughts and actions that change the rules of the game. But isn't it worth every investment necessary to free America and all Americans from the threat of fiscal disaster?
We know it is.
As we pursue our goal of developing new re-employment technologies, we recognize that our unemployed rely upon our nation's strength to protect them from losing everything. Their vital interests and ours are inextricably linked. Their well-being and ours are one, and no change in the economy can or will alter that reality. We must and shall continue to honor our commitments. I clearly recognize that any kind of stimulus has limitations and raises certain problems and ambiguities. If paired with too many tax cuts too soon, they can be viewed as fostering an irresponsible policy of living beyond our means, and no one wants that. But with these considerations firmly in mind, I call upon every CEO, CTO, CIO, entrepreneur, business leader, and lone inventor in our country, those who gave us a system that has inadvertently increased the gap between the very poor and the very rich, to turn their great talents now to the worthy cause of lessening this gap, and give us the means of rendering these weapons of mass inequality both impotent and obsolete. For those millionaires and billionaires who've already retired as winners in the contest to accumulate the most wealth and the coolest toys, I'm guessing that you're probably bored out of your minds just sitting around waiting to rust out. So why not level up to a game and wear yourself out, striving towards a goal not simply to enrich yourself with more material goods and sensual pleasures, but to invest 20% of your remaining time, talents, and treasures in the lives of others, because these are the only investments you can make that will have eternal dividends. Tonight, consistent with our obligations, under the promises we've made to each other, and recognizing the need for closer consultation across income levels, I am taking an important first step. I am directing a comprehensive and intensive effort to quickly achieve our ultimate goal of full employment in the private sector. This could pave the way for a level of prosperity that this country has never seen. We seek neither a parity of outcome nor a political advantage. Our only purpose, one all people share, is to search for ways to reduce the fear of failure that paralyzes our business leaders and our fellow citizens' most productive paths to success.
My fellow Americans, tonight we're launching an effort which holds the promise of changing the course of human history. There will be risks, and results take time, but I believe we can do it. As we cross this threshold, I ask for your prayers and your support. Thank you. Good night, and God bless you.